these when we can see faces and ahas and oh no's and all of that stuff makes it way better. Cool. There's a couple more folks we're just letting in. Francisco, you're great. Kai, you're amazing. Jenny, thank you. You guys are awesome. Thank you for jumping on camera. It's always so nice to see you guys.
The problem is the first time you remember that she got sick after.
Alrighty. I'm gonna mute out of love. Uh, cool. If there's anything else you guys want to say, drop it in that lovely, lovely Zoom chat. We're gonna pull it up. Don't you worry. Excited to see you guys all here. I just want to give maybe like another like minute or two to let some more folks coming in from the waiting room. How are we all feeling today? Are we like good? Are we bad? Are we a little eh? Okay, cool. Sweet. Good to hear. Good to hear. I'm recovering from a little bit of a bug. I told Misty this earlier, but I am like caffeinated up. I'm good to go. I'm excited to do this thing. Cool. I think we have gotten most folks in from the waiting room, and we should have quite a few more folks coming in as we kick off this call. Um, Sweet. Yeah, let's let one more person in. Awesome. Yeah, today we have a really, really exciting call for you guys. I'm excited to have Doc here. Doc always drops so much knowledge around just like pricing, monetization, like really just like building a larger business around community. I think there's like so many people that like have good knowledge to share around just the general community building, but I feel like I'm always like hungry for more of like how do you actually build a scalable business around this that Doc does a good job of touching on. So remember, before we kick this thing off, some quick house rules. Camera on if you can, because these calls are so much more fun when we can see the ahas, the oh no's, the head scratches, all of that just makes it so much more real and fun. It also just like feels a lot better as a speaker and a presenter. Any questions that you have, feel free to go ahead and drop them into the Zoom chat. Both myself and Misty, we're going to be pulling up those questions as we go through the slides, just to make sure that we can hit on all of those. We won't hit on all of them immediately, but we might save some for the end. But pretty much everything that gets dropped in that Zoom chat, we're going to try and answer today. And then last thing is be respectful, usually not a problem. I might mute you if there's some background noise. Again, I do it out of love. Cool. And then Misty also mentioned, just as an FYR, we are testing streaming this to YouTube as well. We don't know how this is going to go. This is our second time. So we're totally testing it out. If it's an absolute train wreck, let us know and we'll adjust. But it went pretty well the first time, right, Misty?
Mike tested it and
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, Mike tested it. Usually that means there's going to be zero breakage. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm being very hopeful about this. All right, I think we're good to go live. If you want to go ahead and hit that go live button, Misty, I'm gonna hit the big ol' record button as well. Alrighty, thank you guys all for joining on today. Today we just have an amazing talk with Doc Williams. What we're going to be talking about is community cash flow and really just strategies for monetizing your community business. And so a little bit about Doc. Doc's done a couple of these talks here with the Hearth, and he just always drops so much knowledge. Doc Williams is a content creator and operations builder. He spent 8 years running an agency building apps with no-code tools, and he's worked with a wide variety of brands and companies from Gary Vaynerchuk to ESPN to the NBA Summer League. And our goal here is like by the end of the talk, we want you to walk away with a very clear and actionable framework for launching and monetizing a paid community with really specific steps in terms of like choosing the right pricing model, crafting valuable content, and then implementing strategies for sustained growth and member retention so that you're not just building a business for today, you're building a business that really stands the test of time. So if you are an entrepreneur, a creator, a community builder, a business owner, you're looking to monetize your existing audience or build a profitable paid community from scratch, you are in the right room. Don't you worry. I want to say before we kick this off, thank you so much for being here. You guys already did the hardest part by showing up. And so our only request is just like be fully here with mic and video on if you can. If life happens, which sometimes it does, like feel free to turn off your video or mute or leave. Totally understand. But we are so excited to have you guys in the room. And honestly, I'm just like so personally excited to see Doc again because Doc is like awesome. Without further ado, Doc, take it away. The rest of the call is all yours, my man.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's great to see you too. It's always great to be here. This is the greatest community. I'm not just saying that. I love Heartbeat. I love being here, and it's wonderful to connect with other builders and talking about communities. So let's get right into it. I'm going to be sharing my screen a lot of times, and we're going to be going through a couple slides, but I'm going to be taking the time to stop, look at comments, talk about different things. So uh, feel free in the comments. I'm going to be looking at the chat. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to be having a great time. So again, thank you so much for being here. And it would be wonderful to know what kind of business that you have, or just let me know. Are you building a business right now, or are you thinking about building a business? Let me know in the chat. Where are we at? Who do we have? So today we're going to be talking about strategies for monetizing your community. If you're thinking about going from a free community to paid, or maybe you already have a paid community and you're thinking about having multiple tiers or looking for multiple streams of income, this is the talk for you. So what are we going to learn as we go through this? Well, we'll talk about clear, actionable frameworks for launching a paid community, steps to choose the right pricing model. We'll go through the strategies for creating valuable content and tips for sustained growth and member retention. I'm going to go through some examples of different communities I've worked with, ones that I've helped with, and some communities I'm a part of, just to give you some examples and everything like that. So to begin, we're going to start with step one. You've got to start with a goal. Now, that might seem like, Doc, I'm just here for the tips and tricks. I'm here for the tech stack. I don't want to do this. You have to do this first, because if you talk about, oh, I just want to make 10K a month. Why? Oh, I just want to make $1 million for my community per year. That's great. I would like that too. But let's talk about goals. Where are we? Why do we want to do this? And all of those things. I'm seeing some of the things in the chat coming up, so that's wonderful. So for a moment, write down on a piece of paper, put it in the chat, whatever. You're going to write down your revenue goal. And what I want you to do is tie a reason for that revenue goal. Is it to have more time to invest in other things in your community? Maybe it allows you to have the lifestyle that you want. That's really important. Now, as we're seeing that, the other thing to consider is use good, better, best. We have this to allow you to have a tier system as you execute, and as you have a paid community, you're able to go through these different things. I'm hearing some laughter. I'm hearing some sneezing, a little bit of everything. It's good. I love it. That shows energy right here. So if I have a tier system, I might say, I want to make $10,000 per month. Okay. How much are you making right now? Do you want to make $10,000 in the next 6 months? In the next 18 months? Give me some context right there. Also, we're going to hit best 10,000. Better, so good, better, best. Let's go with best would be 10K, better would be 5K, good would be 2K, right? So there's a tier system to start getting to where you want your revenue, and you have different levels from there. Sergio, no worries. Listen, we're just happy you're here. We're just happy you're here. So as we go through this, we want to see different things and write this down. Now, what I'm just going to be reading through the chat as we go through this, just to make sure I know who we have right here. And this will help us. So we have existing freemium community. Okay, so we're looking from going from free to paid. Longevity coaching for surfers. I love it, Greg. That's great to see right there. Okay, building a new community with 45 members, monthly membership fee base. Okay. Creating paid community and courses cohort, going from free to freemium. Okay, so I'm seeing a bit of a consistency here. Speaker, consultant, online community, courses. All right, you all are in the right place. This is great. So wherever we are right here, this will allow you to boost where we're going to be planning. So we have step one, setting your goals. For simplicity's sake, we're just going to go with, I want to make, we'll say 5K per month. That's would be best. Then we'll go with 3K, and we'll go with 1K. All right, just so as we go through these examples, we have a place to go. Missy, there we go. 2K, 5K, there we go. Yeah, we'll have it. And then we have 15, 10, 7. Okay, good. Now that we have a framework and we see where we're going, now we can reverse engineer to know what we need to do. And Missy, because I said 10, 5, and 2.5 first, I better stick with those numbers just to make sure that I go through it. Okay, so we have a goal. Let's go to the next part. Understanding your audience. Okay, so why is this so important? A lot of times people will say, well, I'm just going to have a membership. I'm going to have a kind of like a smorgasbord of just bringing in different things. Maybe I'm going to have a weekly Q&A. Then I'm going to have some courses I'm going to offer. Those are great things. But before you start planning and packaging what you need to do, you need to talk to your audience. So asking these questions, what are their biggest struggles? Are you capturing that? How are you capturing that? We'll talk about how you can do that in a moment. But have you asked them what's their biggest struggle? Validating their pain points. Repeat their problems back to them, engage their reaction. We're going to go through an activity and we'll see exactly how to do this. And then
Their vitamins,
quantify
their
the
meds.
problem. So we're going to do that, quantify the problem, tie their struggles to measurable outcomes. Okay. Now, before we go on, let's go through an example. Let me know in the chat. Do you want to see an example? Should we go through a practical way to do this before I do it? Yeah, let's do practical. Let's do practical. Okay, there we go. All right, so we have something called, we call it the pirate ship. Gives us, and you'll get access to all of these things at the end, but this gives you ideas to talk to your audience, going through what they're struggling with. But this is one of the most practical things that we have, that we do this with all of our clients and all of our customers and all those things. This is what we do. I tried to copy this and put it into the chat. It was a hot mess with the formatting. So I'm just going to say this. You can screenshot it. We'll give you all this stuff. All right. So the sample thing is we reach out via text message or email. This is what we say. We say, hey, Bob, how are you doing? I've been working on X and I thought of you because of Y. X is designed to help you to achieve Y. If this is something you would be interested in, please let me know. So you might say, okay, that's great, but give me some more details on that. How could I do this? Well, I'm picking in the chat real quick. I'm looking at Greg with longevity coaching for surfers. I'm just gonna, Greg, I'm not gonna put you on blast real quick. I'm just riffing off this real quick. And if you want to come up, just, raise your hand. But if I'm looking at longevity coaching for surfers, I'm going to, and I think if I understand correctly, Greg, it might be how can people continue to surf a long period of time, like throughout their life? Let me know if that makes sense or if I'm misunderstanding that. Maybe it's something
No,
else.
that's right. It's like keeping them in the water for the rest of their life.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Have you asked them what their pain point is, or is it because of injury? Do they feel like they just lose motivation? Why are they not being able to do this? Tell me more.
There's a few, but the main one and the main age demographic I work with is starting to get into having kids or paying for mortgage. So essentially they go from being able to surf in their 20s whenever they can to having half or a third of the time available. And you can't just go surf whenever you want. There's so many other factors. So it starts to become, they just notice that they're not able to physically do it as well. And then that mentally just gets really frustrating. So it's building things away from the water for them.
And thank you very much. So could you tell me a little bit, what do you do? What's your solution for them to help them with that?
So I've been a fitness coach for 25 years. So I've done that whole time. And I continue to do that one-on-one with clients, and building the community that I've had for about a year now is just to be able to help more people do that. So it basically comes down to movement, breath, and mobility. So just different forms of ways that they can incorporate that in their day-to-day, their week-to-week, to bridge between their ability to surf.
I love it. And could you tell me, is there a certain technique or a first aha moment that they're introduced that then allows them to be bought into, okay, now I'm going to be into these three things? Any kind of quick technique you teach them? Could you talk about that for a minute?
Sure. There's a couple of main areas that they tend to see them start to struggle. The first one is their pop-up. So just giving a couple really easy things for them to start practicing away and practicing that action. So popping up to their feet on their surfboard, practicing that dry land out of the water. And then the second thing I usually always touch on is just easy breath awareness techniques, again, away from the water, that they can start to notice throughout their day, that then they can implement when they are in the water, and connecting those two things together, their stress points in their life, and then being able to practice and then take it into the water.
Okay. I love it. Thank you so
Trying
much.
to. I'm on my
Oh, I'm
phone.
hearing real quick, someone. No worries. We got it. We got this. Greg, thanks so much. So I'm going to riff on this a little bit. I'm going to come back to you just for a second. And thank you so much for being open and helping us right here.
No,
Um,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Not a problem. So if I'm understanding right here, well, let's keep going with your use case. Are you starting from a free community? Do you have a community and you're going into paid? Is this a brand new community? Tell me more from one-on-one to now this. Yeah.
So yeah, so my custom one-on-one I've been doing for years and fully remote for the last 5. I've had the community as an extension of that for the last year, and I really focused on getting my one-on-one custom clients into a connected community, starting to give them more, connection to each other, working on that first. And then in 2025, my focus is really to build that other tier below the one-on-one, to be able to bring more surfers in, to be able to build that community more as an effective way to lead into the custom one-on-one if they're a fit for that.
Gotcha. So if I'm understanding this correctly, you have a free tier where people can connect. That's good. Then we have another tier where it's going to be almost like the group coaching. And then if they're a good fit, then they go up to your one-on-ones, which is a higher premium. And there's a selection process to get to there. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty close, except I just, from some advice from Heartbeat and just some other things, I just eliminated the free tier. I was finding that moving people from that free into the paid was really difficult. Not, I shouldn't say difficult, but I wanted to focus on those that were already bought into their own success.
I love it. First of all, that's a clap. That's an applause. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Love it. Yeah, so it's a lot easier. I think it just allows you to streamline. That's what I love it. Music to my ears. So when you're going through that, is it safe to say as you're trying to get people to join this paid community, what would be the main selling point? Would it be you learning and being supported by others? Is it going to be them learning the 3 basics of movement, breath, and mobility, and then seeing how other people do? Tell me that main thing.
Yeah, so probably clearly defining that message, my message to them is probably it is an important thing that I need to take steps with and do better. But what I'm seeing is them being able to have some structure. So basically an onboarding course to get them just to start doing some of the basics. Not to go into it too much, but a lot of times with surfers, if they've been surfing a good part of their life, it's all they do. And if they've been doing it regularly, consistently, it keeps them relatively fit. And then when they aren't able to do it as much, it really starts to drop. So some of it's just teaching them the basics of what they can do and how that connects to their surfing.
All right. Listen, Greg, we got it. We got it right now. Okay. Let's bring this up for a second. I'm going to see what you think about this, and we'll dial this in. So, Greg, thank you so much. I'm going to bring this up. I am going to have this for a second. So I love what you just had. Right here, I just was writing down now. Forgive me. Sometimes this might be too scattered and all of these things. But from what I heard was you're talking to a demographic of people, you love to surf, your life was in the water. Now you're in a different phase of your life. You have kids, you have more responsibilities. You don't want to give up surfing, but you want to see how you can get back in the water and feel good. You don't want to feel aches and pains and all those things. Does that sound right?
Absolutely. And I would only add one more thing, which is really some of it's a pain point, some of it's a true motivator, is you're just a better version of yourself when you get in the water. You clear your mind. So it's the physical output for sure, but it's the connection and immersion to the ocean that helps them handle all the other responsibilities and stress and those that are relying on them that much better. If you pull that away, everything just goes exponential.
I love it. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm going to be sharing my screen in one moment, but I've got all of these notes and I'm going to show you step by step. I've got to bring something up. This was spur of the moment. I was not planning for this, but I'm motivated to hear about Greg. So I'm like, I got to just do this. I got to knock this thing out. So what am I doing? I'll show you. I'll share my screen and then we'll we'll do this together. So, don't judge my Notion. Some people say it's very messy. My wife is always talking about I need more things. But right here, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the ask and I found my script. I'm going to put this in the chat, but I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to use ChatGPT and do a couple things. So here we go. All right. So my notes are here. This is my script right here, right? I'm talking to myself. I'm using something called Whisper. I have severe dyslexia, so I use a lot of voice to text. So I'm just going to say, I'm creating a new paid community, and I'm looking to outreach to my first customers. I'm looking to create a paid community, and I'm reaching out to my first customers. Come now. I'm doing all this work. It's saying that it can hear me. Now I've got to do the old-fashioned way. That's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to chat. I'm going to try this one more time. I'm creating a paid community, and I'm reaching out to my first customers. If this doesn't do it, I work so hard for this. Don't worry. So what I'm doing is first, oh my goodness. Yes. I don't have time for you. Hold on. Working on my first paid community. And I'm reaching out to my first customers, right? I'm going to then, don't worry, I'll do grammar and all that stuff in a second. Then what I'm going to put in is I'm writing a short email or text to my potential members. Let me put this here. Then I'm going to write, I'm working on, my goal is to help ones that want to get back to surfing, but they are in a new phase of life where they are taking care of family and other things. They have been surfing. I'll just say they're not in the best shape or something like that. They are not. I'll leave that out for now. You get the point. So what I'm going to say is use the following format to create a concise message to reach out. Now, what I'm doing is I'm just adding this so it understands the format that I'm looking for. Okay, that's fine. All right. It's thinking about its life. Okay. So it's saying, hey, how are you doing? I've been working on building a community for surfers who want to get back into the water, but are juggling family, work, and other responsibilities. I thought of you because I know how much you love surfing and might be looking for a way to reconnect with it. This program is designed to help you carve out time and rediscover the joy of surfing while balancing your busy life. Is this something that you'd be interested in? Let me know. So how does that feel? Now, again, this is kind of the beginning. Yeah. You can always change it out. You can say, hey, I like this, pivot. But a lot of times, as long as you first just start with, I always just say, start rambling. Talk about who you're trying to help. Then use the format, and then just prompt it. That's it, right? So this, and depending on what's going on, I might start with this. And I'm big on, it's got to be short for people to read it. You might want to, I might just say, that's great. That's great. Make it shorter. Something like that, right? So once you have this, blah, blah, blah. Oh, wow. Okay, how are you? I've been working on a community. I thought of you. It's designed to help you reconnect. Okay. So this kind of gives you a long version and a short version, okay? This helps us to reach out and get there. Greg, how does that sound? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And the prompting of that, basically where they're at and how to take action on it. Yeah, it's a great messaging. And it can also be tweaked to specific different niches that I'm hitting. Like they're still surfing, but they're just not surfing well, and different prompts. That's great.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for volunteering impromptu and doing this. Round
Yeah,
of
thank you so
applause.
much. I appreciate that a lot.
Not a problem. Round of applause. Hopefully that works. Hopefully we can hear that applause. Good times. Thank you so much.
And one thing that I want to call out, Doc, that I think is like really, really well done is, I get a lot of questions around like, hey, how are you like actually like incorporating AI as like you're growing your business? Like how are you using it as a thought partner? And like this is like the perfect example. I think especially when you are a founder and a builder and you're like creating something from scratch, like most of the stuff that you're doing is actually pretty unstructured. It's not like, hey, just like go read through this Excel spreadsheet. Like how many times are you doing that during a day? Right. And so I think the reality is like this is what it looks like to use ChatGPT as a thought partner and speed up a lot of this stuff. Because Greg could have easily sat there and spent like 30, 40 minutes crafting up the perfect messaging, or he could like pop it in, use some best practices, and then start going out and like reaching out to folks. And so like I think these are like these kind of things where it's like you save 30 minutes here, an hour here, 2 hours here, and it really starts to compound over time. Like this is like a perfect example of how to leverage AI in your business a little bit.
I love it. Thank you. Yes, 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 yes. I use it all the time. It's the best thing. And it kind of helps you get out of your own head. Sometimes you feel paralyzed and you're like, oh, maybe I'm not saying the right thing. Just pop it in, try it out, and then go from there. Now, this was step 2, understanding your audience. You can first ask the questions. You can send this out. And what I would do is if you're thinking about creating that community or having people to apply to be in this paid tier, have a list of 5 to 12 people, and then you individually send it out to them, right? So that format, it's small enough that if there's something that you want to tweak for that 5 to 7 people, you can. And then you send it out, and all you're asking for, you're not asking, please give me money, please. You're just saying, am I on the right track? Could you raise your hand and just say, am I on the right track to find a solution for you? Then you can talk about quantifying their struggle, how much time is it taking them, how much money are they spending on whatever, but that just allows you to get into the right mode, right section. Okay, this is the next part. So after you gather the information, don't worry, we'll go through the resource guide to show you step by step, but after you do that, you can offer a solution to them, right? So you hear them first and say, okay, you're looking for support to learn this activity. Great, I have a solution for you. And because we're doing this as a trial, I want you to be on the founder tier. You're number one, that allows them to feel more exclusive. That allows you to be a lot more intimate with your members right there. And the price reflects value while staying accessible. Right there, you're saying, a founding member, I want to hear more from you. I'm expecting more from you. Give me all the feedback. That puts more accountability on them. And that allows you to deliver even a better product right there because you're invested and you're being close to a small group. I would also mention too, celebrate them. If you want for them to apply to be a founder tier, when they become a founder, announce it on social media. Give them a badge. Do something where now they feel special and you have a great starting point for your paid service. Now, this is the pirate ship model. The overview of what it is. Number one, we're first getting client consulting sessions, build trust and proof of concept. We're first talking about, can you get a smaller group? Small group. That's where it's saying the consulting session. This can be done in a couple different ways, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but building trust, you can do a 15-minute call, a 45-minute call where you're talking to them before they're onboarded as a founding member. What are they dealing with? Where's their starting point? All of those things. The next part is call to action test. Launch the pilot program for your target demographic. See what works. See if they're actually excited. Are they ready to start? And you can even have a minimum. We're not going to do this unless we have 6 or 9 or 10. That allows you to build that group. That allows you to have a intimate group right there, but also you have that momentum because there's going to be several people. Depends on what your number is and depends on how much you're looking to make, but have a goal to reach towards. Skin in the game, add value through a paid low entry product to test it, to see if you're starting this out, do not just make it free, make it something for them to pay and to test if they're actually doing it, right? And then listening and analyzing for your revenue. Okay, so let's go through the use case and then we'll look at a couple communities and go from there. So where is my pirate ship? Da, 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 da. Okay, so this is creating a raw MVP, a minimal viable product. In this way, we're doing it as a community. So the first one was proof of concept, a client consulting session. A client told a customer to mention her to others, specifically those with a greater realm of influence, connected with a local business and develop trust on a one-on-one basis. Bottom line, what is this talking about here? We had a student that had a one-on-one business, but they wanted to scale to have a one-to-many. They wanted a small community. So this one is just saying, hey, I want to take my one-to-one practice and I want to see if I can do this as a group, right? So the next one is created a call to action test. So we did a pilot program. We had 45 people apply in 24 hours. We handpicked 6 to use them as a target demographic. So what did we do here? We first reached out to them and said, hey, I'm trying to solve your problem. Would you be interested? They raised their hand and said yes. Before we gave them the price, before we did anything, we asked them to apply. That way, we saw how serious they were, saw if they went through the application process. Afterwards, we had them pick out the top 6 that aligned with your best customers. That's not, could we get 45 people to pay you? Possibly, but we wanted to have the best 6, so we narrowed it down. From there, we had skin in the game. Before, and this is a big thing, before we released the community, before we did anything, we asked them, it's going to be a 6-week program. It's going to be $125 a piece. Are you interested? Before we made all the graphics, before we spent all this time structuring it in Heartbeat, creating all these channels, worrying about what we're going to do, we're going to see, can we sell at $125? A 6-week sprint. From there, we did. And listen to this. This is what I love about this. Because we asked the questions, because we asked all these things, we actually had 3 revenue streams from listening before we didn't just kick off. What did we do? Because after they applied, we looked at, hey, they're actually saying something different that they want to pay for things, right? We wanted to release the course a certain way or the membership. This is what we ended up doing. After the 6-week, clients sold 3 different programs. A 1-day workshop for $100, ongoing coaching, $165 per month, and an online course for fundamentals at $500. This was all feedback from listening to the original group, right? So if we're looking at streams, and this might seem a little confusing, we'll break it down in a second. It always comes back to active listening. Start with your simple offer, see if people would like it. If they hit your threshold, continue. If people are saying, hey, no, I don't want that, I'm willing to pay you for other things, you have to re-examine. Do you want to pivot? Do you want to sell other things? But the main key is listening to feedback and then pursuing based on momentum. Let me know in the chat. I went through a lot right there. If I'm talking too fast, my wife tells me I talk way too fast all the time. Let me know in the chat. We'll calm this down, okay? Okay, let me see in the chat. Let me bring up this thing right here. Okay, so let's talk about this. We went through a lot. You're saying, but Doc, I'm feeling overwhelmed. What do I need to do? We're going to launch a beta group. Your target is getting 5 to 12 people. 5 to 12. You're going to reach out to them using the model of asking them what they're having trouble with. You're going to then invite them to the group, and the goal is to get 5 to 12 members. That's the goal. I'll stop there. I'm reading. Active listening, great reminder. Okay, good. Okay, so this is where we're going through the sections right here. Now, hold on one second. Okay, let's pause for a moment because I'm seeing some faces that looks a a little bit confused. So we're stopping for a moment. That's okay. That's okay. Let's make it real simple because sometimes with all these slides, it can get really out of control. Let's start here. First, ask your audience what they want. Phase one, you're going to reach out and you're going to ask them this format. Goal, send it to 5 to 12 people that can benefit. Okay? If you don't have those 5 to 12, start writing them down right now. Start brainstorming. I'm going to say, example, I'm going to talk to Bob. What is Bob's problem? I'm going to do that for each individual person. Person 1, person 2, and the list goes on and on. Let me make sure that sounds good. Okay.
And a quick question, Doc, like these
Yes.
conversations that we're having with, let's say, Bob, right? Like it's a 15-minute conversation. It might be a phone call. It might be a Zoom call, I'm assuming. So, we want to ask and like learn about what this person's problem is. What are some of the questions that you find do a really good job of like teasing that out and like pulling that information, right? Like if you could start me off with like, what's my first 3 questions I should ask Bob?
That's a great question. The first one I would probably ask would be, of course, I would need to know, okay, I need to know the subject matter, right? So it'd be like, okay, we'll go through, okay.
Like if we're running
Give
like
me an
Brett's community, right? Like we're trying to help surfers stay
Oh,
active.
okay, let's do that. Okay. So if it's surfers, I'm just going to ask them, okay, tell me about your day. Where are you struggling the most? Is it, I would say, day or week? So it's like, oh, I just want to keep surfing. I just don't have the time. I'm so busy during the week, all of these things. So I'm just trying to understand what their day looks like and what that pain point is. Once I identify that, then I can say, okay, so tell me more about that. That pain, is it because you can't get to the water? Is it because you don't have structure and you feel overwhelmed to know the activities to get started? What is that? And I'm asking them to articulate a little bit more so I can get the emotion out of them so I can tie something to the anchoring the conversation. So it might be like, yeah, like I want to go surfing on Saturdays, but something always pops up. I've got all of this yard work I got to do, and then I got to take my kid to soccer. And by that time, it's 4:30. I feel overwhelmed. I can't pack everything up. I can't go to the beach. That's the moment. Okay, so it's the afternoon, that moment, and you just feel defeated. Yes. What if I could give you something that you could still do an activity to get you ready for doing surfing the next day or right? It's breaking them through that habit. Oh man, I would love that. So so am I understanding you correctly that it's not about you surfing? You just want to make progress to feel good to get ready for surfing whenever that might come. Yes, okay. Then you're looking at that aspect. Okay, the next portion is I'm asking them, now, what are you doing right now? Oh man, so I bought this subscription and it was like just this general fitness routine. It's this yoga poses. I'm paying like $25 a month. Are you doing it? Not really. Number one, it's not really for surfers. I just heard that it's good. See, then you go through, okay, what are they using? How much are they paying for? And you're saying, you know what? I've been hearing this a lot. I've been hearing that a lot of people are just trying to get in shape so they can go surfing and feel confident when they're in the water. I'm doing a program. It's a series of exercises. It takes you 15 minutes a day. You can do it anywhere in your backyard. You can even have your board. You can do it on land to help you go through this. It's a series of exercises. I give you 5 exercises a week. I'm starting at about $29 a month or $75. You're plugging that in. Does that sound right? Would that be what you're looking for? First, they're identifying that, yes, that's what they're looking for. And now they're talking about the pricing. they can be like, that, and you can always tell by body language. And that's why real calls make the difference, not emails when you're trying to price it, because people can be really nice to you via email, like, oh, I've got to think about it, or the next time I get paid. If you say $75 and you see them in real time on Zoom, they're going to be like, you're going to see it. So when you test it out, if you're saying $75 a month, $85, it doesn't matter the pricing. You're looking for the response, and we're looking for that response for them to say, shut up, take my money. If they do not have that, like, yes, good, take my, like, where do I pay? You have to dig in a little bit deeper. Could be it's not, the pricing doesn't align with what they see as value, or is it just not the right fit for them to pay? So I think it's going through the series of questions and then dialing in, throwing out a ballpark estimate and seeing if they're ready to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so to generalize, it's basically like step one is really like identify the problem. Step two is really like dig into those pain points. And then step three is kind of like probe the willingness to pay over there. And if you can run through that cycle with enough people, then you'll get a good understanding of like, hey, can we actually get some customers out of this? I found that like, especially that like initial question, I really like the way that you talked about it, just like, hey, tell me a little bit about your life and kind of your daily schedule. I found that even like on our end, one of the best questions is just like, hey, level with me. What inspired you to jump on a call with me today? And usually people just like dive in and start talking about their problems. And I really like what you said about the willingness to pay, about like shut up and take my money, because that's literally how like we got our first customer with Heartbeat, where we had someone that was like, yeah, I want to buy this and start using it. And we were like, are you sure it's not ready? Like it's super buggy, it really broke it doesn't work yet. And they're like, no, I want to start using it. Can we like get started next week? And so I think like it's going to be rare, especially at the beginning, but like you'll definitely find those folks where they're just like, here's my credit card. Like, how do I get started? I want to do this tomorrow. And like, that's your like, proof point of like, okay, cool. Now we really need to lean into this.
Yeah, yeah. And I think in the questions, in the comments right now, I think it kind of tailors these two things real quick. Um, would you recommend, well, which one should we go with first? Let's see about this. Those are two really great ones. So we'll wrap this up in a bow. That's exactly right. With paying, you're testing it out, seeing what they're going to do. But again, that's why it's so important to, at that first part, knowing your numbers and knowing what you're trying to do and how fast you need to escalate. If you're charging under 100, you've got to think about what it is to get to the goals you're looking for, the higher numbers, right? So you just got to crunch the number. How big is your membership? How big is your community? How big's your audience? That will allow you to see what you need to do. Usually, depending on what's going on, I will usually go with a higher price and anchor down than trying to go low and try to scale up. It's a lot less stress and it's more financially feasible if you go that way. It's a lot harder to go baseline. You're trying to be in everything for everyone at a really insane cutting price at $49. And then when you're trying to ratchet it up, it's sometimes pulling teeth trying to anchor it and do all those things.
I agree with that.
And for peace of mind.
I think a lot of people like naturally just lower their price because they see how the sausage gets made and they like always anchor to a lower price. But I think you're 100% right of just like having that higher price gives you a little bit more like flexibility and breathing room, right? Like it gives you the money to actually pay bills, pay rent, things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we're going to go into this last portion, but I think it kind of makes sense with Nina. I think I'm saying it right. Nina's asking a question. I think this really is a good section where it says, I might be jumping ahead, but can you please clarify how much content events events are ready when they accept as a founding member? I have a lot already prepared and visible. That's a great question. Love that question. Almost nothing. And the reason I say that is with founding groups, I'm building a lot of the material. So first of all, Nina, if you've already created a lot, that's great. Don't make any more. It's about first validating to see if people are first committed. But with the founding group, a lot of times you can be making a lot of it either on a call where you can repurpose. So you have a group call, you record it, just like we're doing right now. And guess what? You chop it up later. Or when they're there in real live or in the chat, you're creating content for them. And that can be even more powerful than trying to prep and have all of these things beforehand. So I'm not saying, and again, Depends on people's personality. If you feel like you're telling me to go in with nothing, I'm going to be stressed. If you feel stressed, you're going to be stressed in the group. I don't want that. You got to be calm. So, but I don't want you to over prepare. As long as they trust that you understand their vision, where they want to go, that's the most important thing as you're building this out for the beta group. And we can go through examples of how you would create that or how much are examples. But the bottom line is I would always have some kind of content to welcome the founding members. That can be a less than 90-second video of like, thank you so much. You've trusted us. Thank you. This is what we're going to have prepared for you. This is the goal. We're going to create all the resources and guides based on what you need. If you want, here's my methodology that we're going to be talking about throughout the program. And we're going to be creating this along the way so it can be tailored for your exact use case. That way they understand that they're being heard. You're also being transparent with how much you're providing right off the bat. You're not like, I have 200 pieces in this vault. Like, you're just saying, we're building this for you and it's being tailored. And then again, depending on the format, I prefer live calls with the group. So that way you're building, hearing the people, and then you're adjusting in real time. Yeah, great. I will go with one more slide, and then I think rapid fire answering all these I think makes sense. We're doing good. We're doing good. Let me do this one slide real quick, and then we're going to answer more questions. Okay. So the answer to the question, and this I jumped ahead, but the strategies, monetization, how the formatting, we can do workshops, subscription plans, online courses, but the main thing is you're packaging your methodology that aligns with your audience. And the reason I want to just talk about this, but not be like, you have to be holding to like one of these things. Every community is different. Everyone wants different things. The packaging, as long as it aligns with your goals, you can do it a couple different ways. And we'll talk about anchoring pricing and what you're looking for. If it's a hobby, if whatever you're teaching, you can slice it so many different ways. So don't feel like, oh, this workshop, I have to charge this much. This online course, it has to be this much. Depending on your audience and your results and aligning with their goals, that's what's going to make the difference of how we're tiering it, how you're going to have multiple streams of income based off of this tier. Measuring success, we talked about it, and we'll talk about more in the Q&A, but listen and adjust based on feedback. That's the main thing as you go through this. You track key metrics like retention, and you can do retention rates based off of when you send out the survey or you talk to your members. Then you can look at member engagement based on how many people respond back. And then you can also look at, okay, how many people signed up for that beta, and then how many go while you open it, fully open. But those are more things. I don't want you to be bogged down by this. Just the first part, listen and adjust by feedback. That's the biggest thing. If you go in thinking I'm going to get 15 spots at $497, it's going to be this structured, you might have a lot of problems. Versus if you actively listen, you pivot and move to where your audience needs. And again, looking at your goals, that will be something that will really help. Tools for success, you know what I'm going to say, Heartbeat. But if you need something, you're like, I'm already on Discord, I'm in a Facebook group. Okay, great. But I think when you're onboarding, I would be using Heartbeat because there are so many different tools to make sure you can segment your audience, they can get in the right channel, you can have them do their intro so much easier. It's like pulling teeth trying to get people to introduce themselves, but with Heartbeat, they're already introducing themselves when they first sign up. So there are so many different things that you can be doing. I'm going to be talking about this in a little bit, but I think we should go to Q&A. I'm going to have the resource guides that you can download, all the things that I talked about. You can get 30% off to talk with me, or just go to my YouTube channel. I talk about all this stuff for free, but I think it's important to get to the Q&A before we end.
Awesome. And actually, before we dive into the Q&A, sorry, Doc, could you pull up that slide again with your QR codes? Because I want to make sure people have some time to be able to actually scan some of those.
Yeah.
And then we also want to grab a screenshot of that so we can include that in the wrap-up email so everyone has it.
Cool.
So I just wanted to also call out that, like, Doc's resources are amazing, honestly. Like a lot of the stuff that he gives away for free should have like price points attached to it. They're really, 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 really good. So I would highly recommend scanning, especially like the step-by-step guides. I would definitely recommend doing that. Follow Doc on YouTube. He's just got amazing stuff that he puts out constantly. Would highly, highly recommend it. Cool. Yeah, and we'll make sure to include all of this stuff in the replay as well too. Now, before we go on to the Q&A session, we're going to go over like a couple quick like wrap up things from Heartbeat side of things, and then we're going to make sure to open the floor for questions. Any questions that you do have, keep dropping them into the Zoom chat. Me and Misty, we're going to queue them up and pull them up for Doc so we can hit as many of them as possible. Just a quick thing from our end as well too that we want to share is if you are building a community and you haven't picked, what platform you want to get started building on. I know Doc has talked a little bit about, options. I'm super duper biased, but I want to recommend Heartbeat as well. It's honestly, we built it to be the absolute best platform that's out there for building and growing and scaling a paid community business. And so what we'll make sure is, you're going to have access to all the core features. So discussions, courses, documents, events, and all of that good stuff. But where I find Heartbeat really, really, really shines is when you are growing and scaling that, you need to layer on revenue and monetization in really thoughtful ways. You need to be able to have different workflows set up to automate a lot of the busy work for running a community. You need to create those access groups and those segments as you're building out more and more experiences in your community. Heartbeat's going to do a really, really good job of making that happen for you. And so as a thank you for joining one of these live calls, because these are some of my favorite calls that we do, we're giving 50% off for your first 3 months. Just use this link, heartbeat.chat/doc. All you got to do is create a free trial before the end of the week, before Friday. And then whenever you do decide to upgrade, you'll automatically get this discount added to your checkout page. So there's no pressure to like upgrade immediately. Just go ahead and create your free trial this week. And then whenever you're ready to upgrade, you'll get that automatically credited and added in. I think Misty's going to go ahead and add that link to the Zoom chat as well too. But yeah, that kind of covers everything in terms of just like some of the wrap up stuff on our end. Misty, do you want to just run through the quick run of show in terms of some of the other events that we've got as well too?
That link incorrectly. Oops. There we go. Okay. So upcoming events, we have Drew Donaldson next Wednesday. He's going to be doing part 2 of another chat he already did with us, where he helped us to use AI to create lead magnets. In this part 2, he's going to be sharing how to push traffic to these lead magnets that we've created and, generate leads and automate the nurturing process from there. So you do not want to miss that. And then the following Wednesday, the 28th, we have Heather from Clover is going to be walking through how to set up your Heartbeat community. So if you have a newer community, you're just kind of getting into Heartbeat, she's going to walk through a lot of the setup process.
Amazing. And with that covers everything that we wanted to run through on our end. So let's take a second. Let's go through some of the questions that got dropped into the Zoom chat. So I know, Doc, you kind of touched on Nina and Lissy's questions on just like building what kind of content events need to be like included when you are first launching this thing. Lissy also asked about like a paid beta and how to think about price points and changing that. Debbie had like a really good question as well, which was, what about people where maybe you kicked off the beta, you had higher price points in that beta, but now you're offering the community at lower rates. Maybe you just got some feedback that, hey, like there's a lower price point that better serves the community members. How do you kind of think about that?
That's a great question. It depends on your goals, but what I would say is it's really how you're framing the founding member, that beta group. Is the beta group a finite amount of time? Like you're going to do the beta group for 6 to 8 weeks and then it's going to end, and then you're letting them know, hey, based off of this, we're going to make changes. So what are the expectations? What are you setting in place? Number 2, I would look at, for their time, because they helped you so much, what can you offer them that can either give them stature in the community to allow them to stay at that price point, or just say, hey, I would love to offer maybe smaller group coaching or something, whatever it is, something exclusive to see what they want to do. I would say, so let me rewind. Depends on if the beta group is going to be long-term or if it's going to have a beginning and end point. That would be number 1. And I think if you just are honest and hear out what they like or what they want to do, that's the main thing. The biggest thing that the beta group doesn't want to see is like, I paid this and now I see this price. Like, that's the worst. So as long as there's clear communication, sunsetting or pivoting is fine, but you just got to have that communication. That's it.
And I think what's also really nice about the beta group is even if you mess up that communication a little bit, right? Like as long as you do right by your customers, right? Like maybe you say like, hey, we're going to do this forever. And then you realize, you know what, this actually doesn't make sense. We're going to downgrade you into like the lower price point. As long as you give, you know, the actual answer of like, hey, this is what we learned. This is what changed about our business. This is what adjusted. Usually the type of folks that are going to come in for a beta anyways will understand that like sometimes life happens and you got to like make changes. And as long as you're like transparent and communicate that, usually you're going to be fine with them. Another question that popped in, Doc, came in from Andreas, which was having a big audience first seems crucial. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I don't, not necessarily. Depends on what you're trying to do. But I think it's actually, you can start off small. You can have even more impact. Again, I would say let's caveat. What are your goals? How much are you trying to make? All of those things. What do we need to look at conversion rate? But I think you can start off with a small group, 2, 5, as long as they're motivated and they want to take action. I think you can have a small audience. And once you prove that first small audience, you can always ask them to refer other people, or you look for other people with a larger audience and look for your unfair advantage or your selling point why their audience should go to you. You're not competing with the other audience necessarily, but how can you be collaborative? So if, for example, a lot of times my two audiences would be probably like sumolings, a lot of people that buy, like have addictions to AppSumo deals. And then also I would say no coders, right? So I'm looking for other influencers that talk about AppSumo deals, but then I'm also looking for other creators of what's going on in no code, like Max with 100 days of no code. Me and him, we do different things. He talks about no code, but he talks about learning skills. I talk about using no code to build a business and make money. So how can we leverage each other? How can we talk about what we offer? So I don't really need a huge audience. I would say look for passion first, look for who you can help, and even if you have a small audience, you can still get testimonials from who you helped, and then you just scale and scale and scale. Yeah.
And I would even say my experience on the flip side of that is like, even if you do build a big audience, there's never a guarantee that like that audience is a perfect fit for the types of offers that you're putting together. Like I did that a couple of years ago on Twitter and I like I created a bunch of like viral Twitter threads, got several thousand followers over the course of like a month. And it turned into like very little in terms of heartbeat sales. It was honestly like not worth the time invested. And so like I think Doc's point of like finding the right people is way more important than just finding a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you know, I have one of my friends, like his community, he has for on like on YouTube, he's got 165K. Mine's very small. Like mine's like 38K. And like I think I'm doing 6X because he always talks about it. He's like, I built my audience to different people than who I am now. And I've always talked about like I'm only putting out content about things I care about. So it just depends. Just depends what you want to do.
Cool. And then I think we got time for one last question that I'm going to pull up from Andreas, which was, is it better to have an evergreen membership or cohorts with an end? And are they like before or like and cohorts that never meet, or ending an end cohort in an evergreen membership later? Andreas, I'm not 100% following this question. If you want to just jump off mute and ask it live, that might help. Might have gotten auto corrected. I'm also still on Dayquil, so that might have affected it.
I I might have an answer
Okay,
if you
cool. Go for it,
jump off.
Doc. Yeah. Maybe it was a Dayquil. Yeah.
No, I think it just depends. If you have cohort, there's always momentum because you have open and close, and then people are willing to, jump in. I would say, why not just have it open all the time? Like there's always going to be someone that wants it instantly and they can join, but it depends also on your mental state. A lot of people that grind, they're like, I can only do it cohorts and I want to open and close quarterly or twice a year, or whatever. Depends. But there's no right or wrong. You'll see everyone is different. Just depends on your business model and what gives you energy. Focus on that, not on trends or, some guru that says to do one thing or the other.
100%. I love that. All right, last thing that we're gonna do, and this is gonna take 30 seconds before we close out. This is a little gift that we do for our host every time. So this is what is called a waterfall. If you've never done it, it's very fun. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna ask a question. We are all gonna write our responses, but we are not gonna hit enter just yet. When I see a bunch of thumbs up, just give me a thumbs up when you're done writing, and we'll all hit enter at the same time, and then that's what makes it feel like a waterfall. So the question we're answering today is, what is one insight, one learning that you are taking with you from this call? So go ahead and type it out. Don't hit enter just yet. All right, and then when you're done, give me like a little thumbs up. And once we see a bunch of thumbs ups on the screen, we can all hit enter at the same time. All right, I've got 2 so far. 3, 4. I'm waiting for like a couple more. 5, 6. All right, let's go ahead and do it. Let's hit enter. Oh, amazing. All right, look at all these learnings from Andreas. Start in all caps. Nina, follow Doc Williams because he has a lot of great insight. Yes, big +1. Hit that big old subscribe button. Charlene, don't create the full community before getting the founding members locked in. From Kai, providing insight on reaching out to my existing audience. Lissy was application process for the beta, get real interested people. Misty, do what brings you energy and don't try to match current trends. 100%. Luciana, a small audience can be a great audience. I love that. We should put that on a t-shirt. Ambika, which said how important listening is. Jenny, listen well to know what people are willing to pay for. Nick Nurani, the community size is not important as the size of results. Align with their goals. Ask my audience what they want. Start small, build as you go. Active listening. Yes, we will have a recording, Ryan. Don't you worry. We're going to send that out to everyone later today. Thank you guys so much for jumping on. Wow, these insights are amazing. Doc just dropped in his YouTube link. I'm going to ask everyone as a personal favor, go there and hit the subscribe button because Doc just constantly drops knowledge there. You are going to learn and grow your business so much faster if you're listening. Thank you guys so much again for joining on live. Like I said, we're going to send out the recording later today. And we're also going to send out the links to all the resources that Doc shared too. Please, please, please take advantage of that because it's going to help you guys so much. Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, you guys. Bye, everyone.